Are you risking your personal assets with your side hustle? So in this video, I'm going to break down whether you actually need an LLC, and if you do, how you can get one easily to protect yourself. If you've got a side hustle, you're making some money on the side outside of your main business, outside of your W-2 job, you may want to consider having an LLC, forming an LLC to engage in that side hustle. The question is, do you need it? Why do you need an LLC? Well, there's four things that come with it. And one is going to be personal liability protection. If you have an LLC, you don't have your personal assets at risk. If you don't have an LLC and something goes wrong, then that person who felt like they were wrong can sue you personally and go after all of your personal assets. Another great reason to have an LLC is professionalism. If it's a one-off thing, I always talk about tacos. If I'm just selling you a taco, it's my side hustle to sell you a taco, and maybe I've got a taco truck. Maybe it's just a one-time deal and professionalism doesn't matter. But if I'm entering into a longer-term engagement with someone, if they have an LLC, it shows me they're serious. It shows me that they really have a plan and are going to be here. Entering into a longer term engagement with just an individual shows me that perhaps they're not serious about what it is they're doing, and I might not be able to count on them. Another is tax flexibility. Tax flexibility is the idea that if you don't have an LLC, you are going to only be able to have the income reported on a schedule of your personal tax return. You're not going to be able to bring in partners. You're not going to be able to make an S Corp election, which does have the potential to save you a significant amount on FICA taxes, or if things are going really well, make a C Corp tax election. So that flexibility only comes if you have a business entity. You can't do those things if you're just doing it with your own Social Security number. And the other thing is you're growth ready. Right? You are now set up. If you wanted to bring in a partner, you could easily do it. Have them join your partnership. If you wanted to raise money, then you could do it as well. There's going to be something for people to invest in. It's not just going to be a loan or an investment in an individual. I don't think there's many people, maybe your parents invest in you, but other than that, there's really not many people who would invest in a business or loan a business money if it's just an individual. So with those four things, personal liability protection, professionalism, tax flexibility, and growth ready, there's some really huge benefits of having an LLC, forming an LLC for your side hustle. Now that you understand the benefits of an LLC, you really have to think about, is it the right time to form the LLC for your side hustle? And, even though I'm sort of in the LLC business, I think you can wait, right? During that ideation phase, you're trying to figure out, is there a market here? What am I going to offer? How much money could I potentially make from this? Thinking about how would I market this thing? Can I do it on my own? Working on your business plan kind of concepts. You don't need an LLC yet. Once you decide you're going to market, before you make that first sale, before you sign that first contract, you really should have an LLC at that point. So once you're beyond that ideation phase, then you should consider an LLC. Now, maybe you get your first sale. It happened. You weren't even thinking about an LLC. And you say, well, should I get an LLC now? I've already done one sale. I've already gotten one contract in my personal name. And it's not too late, right? It's okay. You can actually oftentimes go back to those people that you made the first contract with or sale and say, hey, I started my LLC. I'd like to put the contract in the name of the LLC because it's going to help me come up with a reason. It's going to help me with taxes or something else. Most people are going to want to help you out if they're working with you. So indicators that it's going to be time to formalize, thinking about it sort of with more structure, you're earning consistent revenue or you're really about to start earning consistent revenue. You're working with multiple clients or customers on a regular basis. And then you're also incurring business expenses. You're putting money out when it comes to this business. You're putting money into it. You're spending money on a lot of different things, and you want to make sure that you've got a really organized method with an LLC to account for those and be able to survive an audit with great financial records. Now, if you're spending money before the LLC is started. You can actually still expense those startup costs, right? The money you've spent in advance of the formation of the company, those things can be expensed when the company does start. So don't worry about you're not going to be able to capture those deductions at a later date. So there are some issues if you wait too long. That contract, as I said, maybe you switch the contract you first signed into the name of the LLC. There could be an issue in that if you signed that contract in your personal name and it continues, then if something goes wrong down the road, even though you have an LLC, you could have this hanging over you, this sort of Damocles of potential liability that could come back to haunt you. So before you actually sign that first contract, before you start selling that product, highly recommend you form the LLC, but not so early that if you're not even sure this is going to work, you spend the money, incur the time and expense. Focus on how you're going to make the business work, and then when you feel comfortable, then go with that LLC formation. There are plenty of attorneys out there who will charge you a whole lot of money to form your LLC for you. Luckily, you don't need them. You can do it yourself, but there's a lot of low-cost options like LLC Attorney that can help you do it right. Make sure you do it right, because all of our products and services were designed by attorneys, and we really want to help business owners do the right thing. So getting started, when you get to that website to place your order, to form your company, you need to have a company name. Think about what name you want to present to the world for your company. It's going to be on your contracts, it may be on your business card, but don't obsess over it. One of the things many people don't realize is that a business name is very formal, but you can choose a nickname for your company. You can choose a DBA, or trade name is what it's called. That's a nickname for your company you can hold out to the public. A lot of times, if you're going to be working on a number of different business lines with your company, there may be, you're going to be doing some consulting here, you're going to be developing products there. You may want something that's fairly generic, and then at a later date, you can do a DBA or trade name for it. You're going to file articles of organization with the state in which the LLC is going to be formed. Those articles of organization have details about the company. What's the business address? Some details about who maybe the members or managers are, details about rules that may apply. Those articles of organization are public. They're going to be posted and available in the Secretary of State website. So you got to keep that in mind. That's one of the other benefits of working with a professional, working with LLC Attorney, is that if you don't want your information listed in the Secretary of State records to give yourself some privacy, then we can do it for you. We can file those documents. Our name will go into the Secretary of State records. Beyond that, now you've got a company. Great, it's formed. Your articles are accepted by the state. The company now is a real thing. What do you do next? You need an EIN. You could use your Social Security number if it's a single member LLC, but I really encourage you not to do that. It's going to be limiting for you in the future. If you bring on a partner, if you decide that, maybe you want to get something called a Dun & Bradstreet number for your LLC, you want to start building business credit. If it's on your Social Security number, it's not going to be separate and distinct from you. So you get an EIN from the IRS. The Internal Revenue Service, depending on where you are, your domestic or internationals, a number of different methods. The forms can be complicated. The questions that are asked can be complicated. Another reason that using LLC Attorney or professional is going to make things easier for you to make sure you don't mess up. Once you have your companies formed, then you've got your EIN number. You got to get a bank account for the company. People say, do I really need a business bank account? Yes, you do. You want limited liability protection to apply. You want this to be treated as separate from you. That's the whole reason you're doing this. If you're using your personal bank account to pay expenses, taking the income in, doing all those sorts of things, then you may have a problem because you are commingling funds. The other great reason to have a business bank account is it makes it very clear, is the company profitable, right? You know all the income's going into that account. You know what expenses you're paying. You say, is there money left over? If it's your personal account and you're spending the income that came in and your groceries are on there and the kids' school tour, how do you know how the business is doing? And if you get audited, it's great to be able to say, look, IRS, here's everything. Here's every transaction. I reported all my income. These are all business, valid business expenses. I think they are. So that's a great other reason to have that bank account. So as you're seeing these things build on each other, we got the business name, we got the articles, we've got the EIN, then we get the business bank account. It's not over at that point, right? There are things you still need to do. You need to maintain compliance. That's something we're really focused on here at LLC Attorney, because people form their company and it's not delivering on the promise because they're not maintaining it. They're not compliant. You got to do an annual report at the minimum. You should do annual meeting minutes. Talk about what happened, what's going to happen. You should be doing regular meeting minutes of contributions, distributions, special events. I like to call it money in, money out, and big decisions, meeting minutes for those. You need filing requirements. You have tax filing requirements. You may have quarterly payments you need to make to the IRS, or if it's partnership or S Corp, something like that. You've got filing requirements. You're sending out 1099, all of these things, right? You see it builds. So maintaining that compliance, having a great team to help you with the entity, and then having a great team to help you on the tax side, those are very important. So those 5 things, those 5 steps, you do those and your LLC will deliver on the promise of limited liability protection, which is why you started this in the first place. So maybe you've heard bad things about an LLC. Maybe you've heard things about, it's too expensive to start an LLC, or you're going to incur all these additional costs. Not true. States want you to form LLCs. They love it. They want you to spur businesses. They want you to hire people. They want you to help economic growth and get more of your money, right, in taxes. And so the states have made it, most states anyway, have made it really easy to set up LLCs and inexpensive. The costs vary from state to state. Some states are as low as, $10 to form a company. Some states are as much as $800 or even more to form and maintain your company. But one of the things that most people don't know, another misconception, that's number one misconception, is too expensive. Another misconception is that they need to form the LLC in the state in which they live. That's not true, right? I have a whole other video on this topic, but the general rule is if you are doing business in a state, you need to form the LLC there. But what's doing business? Doing business means you're serving the public there, right? You've got a storefront. You're bringing people into your location. You've got a warehouse. We've got employees, right? You're doing shipping from that location. You've got a significant presence. If you're not doing those things, and most people with side hustles are not, right? They're doing consulting online, or they're doing e-com, or they're doing, maybe they're selling things on Etsy or something like that. Those things are generally not going to require your LLC to be formed in the state in which you live. You can form it in a state that's cheaper than your state to form your LLC, and cheaper to maintain, and probably get you more asset protection. So keeping that in mind is really important to explore your options. Another one is, I'm not really making enough money with this side hustle to merit forming an LLC. It's really less about the money and what's the risk, right? What is the risk associated with that business? I'm no fun for a lot of reasons. I'm fun for other reasons, but I'm no fun for a reason that I always think about what's going to happen, and I tell people on phone calls I have and conversations, people are dying all the time, getting injured, all of these other things. And if you think about your business, your side hustle, could someone get hurt? Could you be sued? Is there a likelihood of it? Then even if you're making a little bit of money, you have all your assets on the line if you don't have an LLC. So the amount of money you're making is less important than how much risk you have. And it's also about maybe you'd make more money if you were seen as professional, seen as more professional with an LLC, seen as more committed with an entity with a business name. Another common misconception is that it's complicated. It can be. Do-it-yourselfers, if you haven't done it before, it could be complicated. You could hire an attorney to do it for you, and sometimes they make things more complicated, so I'm not even sure that's a good analogy. But you hire an attorney, it's certainly going to be expensive. It probably would be less complicated. But LLC Attorney, our website designed by attorneys to give you what you need from the perspective of setup, foundation, compliance. It's not complicated with our platform, with our client portal. So those 3 things, I think there's 4 things. I'm going to say more than 3. Those 3 or 4 things are really important when you are thinking about your LLC, and don't be don't have these common misconceptions. So hopefully this video helped you out. Assuming you need an LLC, assuming you're going to move forward, the next thing you need to worry about is who's the registered agent, who's going to be listed in the Secretary of State records as the person or the entity that will accept lawsuits on behalf of my company. It's not a small decision, but we'll get into that in the next video, so stay tuned.